I want you to picture two apartments. Same city, same neighborhood, similar rent. The first apartment belongs to Marcus, 38 years old, working in tech. He makes $95,000 per year. Walk inside and you'll find a 75-inch television mounted on the wall, a leather sectional that costs $4,000, a kitchen full of appliances, most still in their original boxes, closets overflowing with clothes, many with tags still attached, a spare bedroom converted into storage for items that haven't been touched in years. Marcus checks his bank account with a knot in his stomach. He's 2 missed paychecks away from crisis. The second apartment belongs to David, 36 years old, working retail. He makes $52,000 per year. Walk inside and you'll notice space, a modest couch, a reasonably sized television, a kitchen with exactly the tools that get used regularly, a closet with clothes that actually get worn. The spare bedroom is actually a bedroom. David checks his bank account with calm confidence. He has 18 months of expenses saved and invests 20% of every paycheck. Same neighborhood. The person earning almost half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. This isn't a story about income. It's a story about the hidden relationship between stuff and money that most people never understand. Today, I'm going to walk you through the minimalist money rules that separate people who always have money from people who never do, regardless of income. Here's what nobody tells you. Making more money doesn't solve financial stress. It sounds backwards, but research consistently shows that people earning $300,000 feel just as financially anxious as people earning $80,000. Why? Because their expectations expand with their income. A salary increase doesn't create security. It creates a new baseline of spending. This is called lifestyle creep, and it's one of the most destructive financial forces most people never recognize. The real problem isn't how much you earn. It's a concept that most people completely ignore. Everything you own costs money twice. The first cost is obvious. It's the purchase price, the number on the receipt. When Marcus bought that $4,000 sofa, that's what he focused on. But there's a second cost that's often larger than the first. This second cost includes storage, and a maintenance, mental energy, and opportunity cost. It's invisible, which is why most people never calculate it. That treadmill you bought requires space in your home. Space costs money, roughly $30 to $50 per square foot annually in most cities. A treadmill takes up about 20 square feet when you account for clearance space. That's $600 to $1,000 per year in implicit rent you're paying to store exercise equipment that probably collects dust most days. Most people never think about it this way, but the space your treadmill occupies could be rented out, or could justify you living in a smaller, cheaper apartment. The second cost also includes maintenance. That boat sitting in your driveway needs winterization, cleaning, registration, insurance, and occasional repairs. The industry rule suggests annual maintenance runs about 10% of the boat's value. A $30,000 boat costs $3,000 per year just to own, even if you never take it on the water. And you're thinking about it constantly, checking on it, worrying about storage, wondering if it's worth keeping. That mental bandwidth isn't free. But there's more. Every item you own occupies a slice of your attention. It needs to be cleaned, organized, maintained, insured, and eventually disposed of. Researchers have found that visual clutter increases cortisol levels and reduces the brain's ability to focus. Your stuff is literally stressing you out in ways you can't consciously perceive. Marcus surrounds himself with clutter and doesn't even realize it's affecting his ability to think clearly about money. He's stressed about finances partly because his brain is exhausted from managing all these possessions. And then there's opportunity cost. That $15,000 home gym equipment could have been $15,000 in index funds growing to $50,000 over 15 years. You didn't just buy a home gym. You bought a home gym instead of future financial freedom. And this is the calculation that most people never make. They see the monthly payment or the sticker price and decide if they can afford it. They never ask themselves, what else could this money become? Minimalists understand this intuitively. They're not avoiding possessions because they hate nice things. They've calculated the true cost and decided most things aren't worth it. They follow one simple rule that changes everything. Calculate cost per use before any purchase. Before buying anything, estimate how many times you'll realistically use it. Divide the total cost by that number. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 per wear. A $400 jacket worn 200 times costs $2 per wear. The expensive jacket is actually cheaper. This single calculation destroys most impulse purchases immediately. That $300 kitchen gadget you'll use twice a year costs $150 per use over the first year. That's an obscenely expensive way to accomplish a task. Meanwhile, a $30 tool you use weekly costs less than 60 cents per use. A $2,000 mattress used every night for 10 years costs about 55 cents per use. That's extraordinary value for something affecting your health and energy every single day. Here's the turning point that changes everything. Owning less doesn't mean living worse. It means living deliberately. And deliberate living creates financial margin that most high earners never experience. Think about Marcus and David again. Marcus earns nearly double but has almost no financial optionality. He can't leave a job that's destroying his mental health. He can't take 6 months off for a family emergency. He can't move cities for a relationship. He's chained to his income requirement. David, earning half as much, has extraordinary optionality. He can absorb financial disruptions. He can take risks. He can make choices based on preference rather than necessity. The money tied up in possessions Marcus doesn't need is money that can't buy his freedom when he needs it. So how do you break free? There are 3 practical rules that minimalists follow religiously. First, apply the replacement test to everything you already own. Walk through your home and look at each item. Ask yourself honestly, if this item disappeared today, would I spend money to replace it? Be honest. Would you buy another fondue set? Would you replace those clothes you haven't worn in 18 months? Would you repurchase that bread maker collecting dust in the cabinet? For most items, the answer is no. These items exist through inertia, not intention. You keep them because getting rid of them feels wasteful. But keeping them is already wasteful. They have negative value. They cost space, mental energy, and maintenance without providing benefit. Every hour spent organizing around or thinking about items you wouldn't replace is an hour stolen from activities that actually matter. Minimalists ruthlessly eliminate these items. They sell what has value, donate what someone else could use, and discard what serves nobody. The process feels uncomfortable initially and then liberating once complete. Second, define enough before you start earning more. Decide in advance what kind of home is sufficient. What kind of car meets your needs? What level of material comfort constitutes genuine satisfaction? Marcus never did this. He constantly redefined enough upward. Every time he got a raise, his expectations expanded with it. David did something different. He decided $45,000 of annual spending was enough for him to live comfortably, even if his income grew. When his salary hit $52,000, the $7,000 difference went entirely to savings and investing, not consumption. This creates a finish line. Without it, you're running an endless race where lifestyle expansion always outpaces income growth. With it, you reach a point where additional income flows entirely to financial freedom rather than consumption. I'm the person who defined enough at $45,000 and then started earning $52,000, builds wealth at an extraordinary rate. The $7,000 difference compounds year after year. Third, measure wealth by optionality, not accumulation. Conventional wisdom measures wealth by what you have. Houses, cars, possessions. Minimalists measure it differently. They measure it by what you can choose. Can you leave a job that's destroying your mental health? Can you take 6 months off for a family emergency? Can you move cities for a relationship? Can you retire before 65? Can you say no to opportunities that pay well but compromise your values? These options represent true wealth, and they're only available to people who've built substantial margin between income and expenses. The financial transformation from these practices compounds over time. Someone who applies these rules consistently for 5 years accumulates substantially less while saving substantially more. The gap between their lifestyle and their income creates wealth that can't be built any other way. Here's what nobody tells you about minimalism and money. The relationship is bidirectional. Owning less creates more money, but having more money makes owning less feel natural. When your savings account is robust and your investments are growing, the urge to accumulate diminishes. The psychological need that drives most consumption, the need for security and status, gets satisfied by financial strength rather than physical possessions. You don't need the stuff to feel successful because your bank account already tells you the story you want to hear. People trapped in consumption cycles often can't explain why they buy so much. The truth is usually that spending temporarily fills an emotional void that financial insecurity creates. Address the insecurity through actual financial strength, and the compulsion to spend often dissolves on its own. This creates a virtuous cycle. Spending less leads to saving more. Saving more creates security. Security reduces the emotional drive to spend. Reduced spending accelerates saving further. Each turn of the cycle reinforces the next. The opposite cycle is equally powerful but destructive. Spending everything creates insecurity. Insecurity drives more spending as temporary emotional relief. More spending deepens insecurity. You're trapped. Marcus is caught in this destructive cycle right now. David broke free and never looked back. Both of their lifestyles are available to you regardless of what you currently earn. The choice is simply whether you want to own your possessions or whether you're comfortable with your possessions owning you. The math strongly favors the first option. So does the peace of mind. Research consistently shows that beyond a baseline of security and comfort, additional purchases contribute minimally to well-being. Yet most people spend as if happiness scales linearly with spending. Minimalists align their behavior with this research. They spend enough to be comfortable and then redirect the excess toward freedom rather than accumulation. They end up with less stuff and more life. If you're someone who earns decent money but never feels financially secure, subscribe and like this video. You're not broken. You've just been playing by the wrong rules. The minute you decide what's enough, everything changes.